So I was watching Last of the Mohicans a couple days ago, and I mean, I've seen the movie before. It was actually one of the first R-rated movies that my father let me watch completely unedited because, I mean, like, not for no... Wow, this guy is being a fucking jackass right here. You are going the wrong way, sir. Wrong way. Very dangerous. Because, I mean, like, when you think about it, for those who have seen the movie, it's really not that, I mean, like, it was probably, if you had edited about, like, 30 seconds out of that movie, you'd probably have a hard PG-13. Most of the stuff that was shown was really sort of like, it was implications, you know, sort of like, which actually, I mean, in its own right is kind of more disturbing. I mean, I always thought that way about, like, the end of Braveheart, how you don't actually see what's happening, but you know, like, it's very, very clear what's going on, and you're there's something about it that's just, like, all the more disturbing. At any rate, I've seen this movie, like, many, many times, and I've always enjoyed it, but when I was younger, I feel that it was more like, yeah, I want to see some fucking British soldiers fighting some Native Americans and people getting killed and shit. I mean, I always, like, had an appreciation for the soundtrack. It's a very, very beautiful soundtrack, and the cinematography is beautiful as well. This movie, you know, now that I'm older and I watch it again, I actually watched the director's cut, which there was one scene more towards the beginning because Hawkeye and the older of the two sisters, I forget what her name is, you know, they're supposed to fall in love in the movie. And there was a little too much, like, you know, right up front that was sort of like, oh, these guys are falling in love. It was sort of like, in the regular version, you know, it was just cut down because they were basically like the bodies of these people, and the daughters were trying to argue, like, we need to give them a proper, you know, Christian burial, and Hawkeye basically says, like, they're gonna stay where they are, you know, we're gonna leave them where they lay. And, you know, she gave him a lot of shit about it, like, you know, like, this is heartless and callous, you know, to leave strangers like this. And he basically says, like, they're not strangers and they're gonna stay where they are. And the scene basically goes on to, you know, he goes on to explain that, like, you know, a war party is more than likely tracking them, and if they found that, you know, the site had been disturbed and the bodies had been given a Christian burial, then they would automatically, the Huron would automatically assume that, you know, they'd been through there and they would be hot on their trail. And she apologizes to him, and it's sort of like, that's enough, you know, that's enough of the scene. They didn't really need all of the exposition and stuff like that. But you know what, man, small potatoes, honestly. The director's cut was still really good. I understand why they took that scene out, but still a really great movie. The thing that I've noticed now that I've gotten older is that this film is actually, it's like quite Shakespearean, you know. It really does play out kind of like a Shakespearean tragedy. And I know it was based on a book. I read the first, like, 5 pages of the book when I was in 5th grade, and I was like, no, I'm not, no. This is too much of an investment. If I went back and read it now, I'd probably enjoy it a lot. But there's so much more that I appreciate about the movie now. You know, it's Shakespearean quality, but even the performances in the movie. I mean, it's Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis is great in everything that he's in. And I know that he's a method actor, so I'm kind of wondering if he and the actress who played the older sister, I don't know her name, but I will find out, and I will put it down below, just there. He and the older sister were, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were really doing it in real life, because I really, 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 really bought their romance. Like, it was a good romance. There was not one inkling of me that didn't believe, and it was all like mannerisms and shit. Like I don't know if they just really, if they were really just that great at acting, or if they did, like, really, if there was something there. It felt like there was something there, and that's really what drives the entire story. Now, you know, despite all this, despite the brilliant romance, this movie is not a mush fest, but it's for mostly everybody. For anybody who can take a little bit of violence in their movie, it's like a great movie that, like, men and women can both watch. And the cinematography is beautiful, the music is beautiful, and it's just like, I really kind of wish that there were more movies that portrayed that particular time, like America before it was its own country. I mean, circa, I believe The Last of the Mohicans takes place in 1757, so this is about, you know, 19 years before the American Revolution. So it's basically a clusterfuck. There's fucking French soldiers, there's fucking all these tribes of Native Americans, there's like the Mohawks, there's the Huron, there's the Mohicans, and they're all sort of like aligned with like different parties who've kissed their ass, but, you know, in the end, we all know, wind up fucking them over. And the bad guy, Magua, all right? Once again, forget the actor's name. first of all, the dude is a really good actor. The thing that made it excellent was it's great to have a villain with a very understandable backstory. And he is a villain, no doubt. I mean, like, Daniel Day-Lewis's character calls him out at the end of the movie big time in front of the Huron chief, and basically like tells him Magua's heart is twisted. And it is. He's a violent fucking dude. Like, he has nothing but hatred and vengeance in his heart, and it's sort of like he's kind of about selling out his own people to basically like make deals with the French and stuff like that. And that's why the chief basically says like Magua in his heart is not Huron. But when you understand his backstory about how his tribe was invaded by this British general, and he got separated from his family, he got taken prisoner by the Mohawks, but then he befriended them, and like he went to come back to the Huron like years down the road, and his wife thought that, you know, he was dead, so she got married to somebody else, and basically his entire life was just ruined. His entire life had been turned upside down by the British, and he just holds this hatred in his heart. And you totally understand where he's coming from, but you know that motherfucker's got to be stopped. He's not a good dude. I hadn't watched it in a really long time, and I just find that I have a newfound appreciation for it. It really, really is just a very, very, very good movie. It was very well directed. It was very well thought out. A lot of care was taken into it, like, you know, even the like set design and the wardrobe and stuff. It was just a very, very beautiful movie, and it's a very emotionally poignant movie. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It is, from a filmmaking standpoint, it is a very, very beautiful movie. I watched it again, and I liked it enough that I thought it was worth its own video, so here you go.